Most people, if we're not habitual or pathological or practiced or any of those other things, when we lie, our brains have to work harder. First of all, we have to remember the truth. Then we have to construct the lie. We have to remember not to tell the truth. We have to remember how we might answer some questions around the lie. We have to remember to whom we told the lie. I mean, it's so stressful that for big lies, most of us would much rather tell the truth. It's just a lot easier. You don't have to remember who you said what to. It's just simpler. So when we lie, there's some stress. Our heart rates go up, blood pressure goes up, breathing rates get shallow, and those are the things that you start to see in body language. So much of detection of lies is really stress detection, which means, by the way, that you can't say when you see some of these, oh, that person's lying. What you can say is, we've hit a hot spot. Something in this question, something in this line of questioning, something that just happened, someone who just came into the room, triggered something because they are acting stressed. So, stress signals are anything, typically things like playing with your jewelry. You see people that are nervous start to twirl their rings. They may rub their hands together. They may rub their hands on their legs. They may bounce their feet. You also can do all these things for other reasons. But when you see this at a certain time, it can be very telling. Feet, by the way, are incredibly honest. They're the most honest part of your body because they're the farthest from your brain and the least rehearsed. So when somebody is really nervous, you can see them wrap their feet around their, the back of the chair. You can see them do all sorts of very fascinating things with their feet. You can also see them start to point toward the door because they really wish this line of questioning were over and they're ready to go. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen that you can see. Also, feet can point toward you. So if, for instance, you're really engaged in what I'm saying, your feet more likely point toward me. If you're not so engaged, they start pointing other places. Same way in a group, you can tell who really people are interested in because their feet start to point at them. They may be still talking to other folks, but their feet are pointed at the leader or the boss or the most charismatic or whomever. So feet are a lot of fun to watch. In stress, when you think of stress, you think of fight or flight. But actually, the first sign of stress is what physiologically? Freeze. Everybody freezes. So many times, what you're looking for is not the fight or flight stuff, the bounciness or the trying to get out of the room. You're looking for all of a sudden, people get very still. They start to freeze. If they were animated before and their gestures stop, or they hide their hands under the table, or you can almost see it in their breathing, they hold their breath. I mean, there are lots of things that people do when they freeze that doesn't look like their normal behavior. The most important thing, of course, is to find behaviors that are a deviation from their truth baseline. Now, here's how that works. I'm coming in for a job interview. So before the interview, you offer me a cup of coffee. So while you don't care if I drink the coffee or not, what you want to see is we're having this chit-chat is how I gesture, how I talk, what my tone of voice is. Under stress, our voices get higher. So you want to see if how are my voices when I'm just chatting about things. Then you do something way before the interview starts, and that is you ask me questions to which you know the answer. So you say, because it's down in your notes, you already know this, but you say, hey, how did you hear about this job opening? You watch me as I answer, because I have no reason to lie about that. You can tell you already know the answer to it. Do you have any friends that work here? You already know that because it's written down. 2 people in the organization referred me. Again, you're looking for a baseline, but you're looking for a baseline of truthful answers. Because tapping feet, if my feet are tapping while I'm saying, oh, yeah, I know a lot of people here, then it's not going to mean anything if you're going to use it as a cue to deceit. But if I'm very calm and I change my behavior when you ask me a question about why I left my last job, and it's different from that truth baseline, then you might have a hot spot. Telltale 4, what you want to do is look for clusters. Now, they can be clusters of verbal and nonverbal. So let's say you are interviewing me again, and you have asked me about why I left my last job, and I've been evasive, and you're writing notes, but all of a sudden you hear that my voice got higher. So that got your attention, and you looked up because you know that when voices get higher, that means stress. And then you see that I'm touching either my necklace or my neck. And because I'm a woman, women tend to, when they're stressed or surprised or thrilled, they tend to touch right here, the notch at their neck, or they play with jewelry that's close to it, just like you did. We do that. So if all of a sudden my voice got your attention because it was higher, and then you notice another stress signal, and then there was something in that answer that I said, you know, I left to pursue other things. I didn't really answer your questions. Now you have a cluster of behaviors. And what you might do with that cluster of behaviors is absolutely nothing. You might not say, hey, I noticed you touched your neck and your voice, you know, you might not do that. You might just kind of put a little asterisk at that question and go on to some other questions. You'd notice then if my hand dropped and my voice got lower and I seemed to be more animated, and then you might go back to say, if I called your last boss, what would he tell me about you? And then again, you'd notice, because if now you're getting those reactions twice, there's something about that situation that I haven't been forthcoming. So that's how you would use these. The Telltale 4 is out of Northeastern University, and they did this study, and no one else has replicated it, but I'm just throwing it out to you, that there are 4 body language cues that if you see them in the course of, say, 2, 3, 4-minute conversation, this is the telltale cluster. This means you're talking to a liar. So if they touch their face, if they rub their hands together, if they pull back, and if they cross their arms. If you get those 4, you got a liar, according to this research.